In this chapter, we're going to be talking about object-oriented programming in Python. And to get started, we need to start about the basis for objects in Python, and that's the class. And to understand how classes work, we have to go back even one more step and talk about a concept called abstract data types. First of all, when we talk about object-oriented programming, we talk about breaking our program up into objects. So for example, in a payroll program, we might have an employee object, a payroll project, a paycheck object, perhaps even a hours worked or timesheet object. These objects are formed based on something called an abstract data type. An abstract data type takes the concept of an object and breaks it down into really two parts: the attributes of an object and the behaviors of an object. A name is an example of something that might be broken down into an object. The attributes of an object might consist of a first name, a middle name, and a last name. There might be other attributes such as a title or a prefix or a suffix such as junior, but we'll go with these attributes for now. Then we talk about behaviors. And what are the behaviors of a name? Well, a name really doesn't do much other than identify a person. So when we talk about behaviors of a name, we might be talking about instead, how is the name displayed? Well, a name can be displayed first, middle, last, or it can be displayed last, first, middle, or it can even be displayed by just the initials. But when we begin to write a program in an object-oriented style, the first thing we have to do is take a look at what the objects are for the problem and define an abstract data type for those objects. Once we've done that, then we're ready to start defining the class, which will make up the true Python definition of an object, and then we can actually create the objects in Python from the class definition. Before I begin to talk about how we implement classes in Python, let's talk about the differences between classes and objects. A class is a definition of an abstract data type, which I'm going to abbreviate ADT. And we'll go even farther and say it's a definition of an abstract data type in a programming language. An object, on the other hand, is an instance of a class. So in other words, I might have a class that's defined name, and then in my code, I might write something like this: a name equals name John Doe. A name now becomes an object of the name class. So the class is nothing more than the definition of an abstract data type, or the implementation of an abstract data type. And an object is a particular instance of the class definition. So hopefully that will clear up any confusion you might have had about the differences between classes and objects. So to summarize, an abstract data type is a high-level definition of an object that breaks the object up into its attributes and its behaviors. Once we've created an abstract data type, which we don't do in the actual programming language, we might do it on paper or at least in our heads, then we're ready to actually create the class definition from that abstract data type. Now we're ready to move on to the first lesson, where we're going to actually begin defining classes in Python by talking about how to create constructors which initialize fields or the data or attribute part of a class definition.